The views and opinions expressed in this podcast by the host and or the guest do not necessarily reflect the views of the host and or Paranormal Buzz Radio and or its sponsors. Use of any material produced by Paranormal Buzz Radio without express written consent is prohibited. Paranormal Buzz Radio will not be held responsible for you holding your knees, crying, and rocking in a corner in a puddle of your own urine, or being beheaded by a group of children in the cornfield. In fact, if you come across a group of children in a cornfield, we promise to make fun of you as you run away screaming in terror. Listener discretion is advised.
You're listening to RAP Paranormal and Friends with your hosts,
Kim Purvis
and Allison Robinson. Make sure to check us out on our Facebook pages, RAP Paranormal and Friends and RAP Paranormal Busters, for up-to-date show information and events.
The views and opinions expressed in this podcast by the host and or the guest do not necessarily reflect the views of the host and or Paranormal Buzz Radio and or its sponsors. Use of any material produced by Paranormal Buzz Radio without express written consent is prohibited. Paranormal Buzz Radio will not be held responsible for you holding your knees, crying, and rocking in a corner in a puddle of your own urine, or being beheaded by a group of children in a cornfield. In fact, if you come across a group of children in a cornfield, we promise to make fun of you as you run away screaming in terror. Listener discretion is advised.
Field producer, and much more. You've got a whole extensive list of things that you do. So, how are you?
Fantabulous, and thank you both for having me back in the groove of whatever is good again.
Yes, absolutely. So, for all of our new listeners that may have not heard when you were on previously, can you give us a little bit of background on yourself and what led you down this spiritual journey that you are on?
I am a lover of God, whatever that really is, whatever label a person chooses. I am a lover of humanity. And the greatest sanity I've ever found is in that love for humanity. I'm finding myself, hence God. What made me find this path? My dear Lord, what a good question. Everyone deserves to at least my answer as your brother who cares about you, whether you know me yet or not, is pain is an amazing catalyst for change. Like most of us, but I went through a 10-year relationship that went belly up many years ago in South Louisiana when I lived there. And I had no choice. Early in my life, I wanted to be a Catholic priest. I was serious about it. I wanted to go wear the black garb. You can see me now. I'm in black. Everything about me is dark and black. Not dark, but dark as in the color black.
Right.
But I wanted to be a Catholic priest, and my father made the beautiful mistake of putting an electric guitar in my hands. So I said, God, I love you very much. I will see you probably in my future, but not right now. Yanava wants to go play. So I went and played music for many years with worldwide, world-class caliber players. And it got old for me soon. But all through those years of being a musician, when the girl left, I went back to the closet where I stuffed God and pulled it back out. And I started this reverberation process of stimulating the tines of my soul. What are the tines? The tines are the tuning fork that when you strike, they begin to resonate. Boo. So that was my calling to go back to God. And one day, he literally picked up the phone, metaphorically. And then since then, I've been called. And I have no choice but to fall deeper into humanity to do what I think most of us came here to do. And even those who may not have been chosen to come here to do that are finding the compassion within themselves to be just that. So that is who I am. I'm a lover of life. I absolutely care. And no matter how rich I am going to be very soon, it doesn't matter. Yeah. You send me an email, I am personally going to respond, no matter who you are. So hence my being a lover of humanity. I'm just someone who made the choice over many eons to fall into alignment, not to make me special, but it's because of my sincerity. I am now at a place in my life where I'm able to reap the majestic benefits of just truly being of service.
Very cool. Now with this though, didn't you have kind of what you thought was a dream, but somebody was, saying good morning to you? And that kind of also...
Yeah, I did. In 1996, I was married. That's a symphony of laughter right there. Not against the institution of marriage, but if you knew me, then it would be hilarious. But I was married. I was married, and I started getting on this path. And this path, ironically, strangely, beautifully, powerfully, magically, came through a Ouija board. I was never afraid of a Ouija board. For those who are ignorant of what a Ouija board really is, it's a subconscious typewriter. And when people go into the Ouija board arena to play with it, then entities will come back to validate you're wanting to play, and they will play with you. I knew somehow intuitively exactly what this was. There's no way you're going to show up my party at my house and destroy my furniture. It's not going to happen. You are not going to come in here and start moving people's consciousnesses around to manipulate. That's just not going to happen. And it was that kind of fervor and anchoring of, I'm interested in what this really means. And a few days later, the board began to speak to say, Keith, close your eyes and talk. And, okay, well, what am I going to talk about? Trust me, Keith, it will come in. I went into this full-blown channeling session that I never expected. And then a few days later, long story short, I was awakened out of my sleep by a voice that said, good morning, Keith. And I thought a friend of mine by the name of Scott came, knocked on the door, and I didn't hear it because I'm sleeping in because I'm a musician and I played late that night or whatever. I wake up, there's no one in my room. Dream voice. Yeah, it makes me feel better. I dismiss it as a dream voice. Yeah. Well, convinced in this sort of logic, I lay back down in the bed, only to hear, Keith, I asked you to awake. And I knew something was happening. I was violently, I use that word intentionally, like your clothes in the washing machine gets agitated. But it's for purifying your clothes, for cleaning your clothes. I was violently thrown back on the bed, but lovingly, and thrown into this divine, mystical, absolute experience. And my conscious walk really started at that point.
Yes, and then it kind of led you down this road where you just had things kind of falling in. Weren't you reading about Sai Baba? Is that right? And then that kind of all fell into place when you got to go to India because you received a phone call and she was a stranger, right?
You are really good at reading notes, and you have a great memory.
Yeah.
See, I love chatting with you two because you're just fun. It's not so formal and proper. Right. And in that way, it is sort of formal and proper. Right. What happened was I learned of the presence of Satya Sai Baba, the highest, as if there is such a thing, but it makes a point, the highest incarnation of God to ever come to earth. So I was fascinated with the idea of someone being able to spontaneously manifest at will. And it just grabbed me like a fishing lure. And I read every book I can possibly read about his life because he doesn't write books. And then one night, after many years of experiencing him in sleepscape, dreamscape, actually really realityscape, these experiences were real. And one night he comes to me, Keith, come see me in India. I would love to go to India. Well, how will I do this? Keith, stop it. If you believe that you believe I am, put this nonsense down you're coming to India. Long story short, 2 weeks later, I get a phone call from Debbie Jabbour.
Yes.
Hello, Keith. How are you? I'm fantastic. What can I do for you? Well, Keith, we have a mutual friend, okay? Navam told me, he's a pilot himself. Navam told me that you wanted to go to India to see the Holy Man. I said, yes, ma'am, this is true. She goes, Keith, I'm a flight attendant, and I have 2 buddy companions tickets that are about to expire, and I would not like that to happen knowing you want to go experience something beautiful in your life, aka this Holy Man. Can I give you a first class round trip ticket?
Right.
So these levels, not coincidences, of course you both know that, but these alignments really began to exponentiate my gait, my walk, into my spirituality in a very real way. And I'm not saying that anyone's reality is not real. Hello, Darren. It's not anyone's spiritual walk is not in a real way. Speaking for myself, it became very genuine. Anything that I say in this time with you ladies, which I'm so grateful for, is not that I'm special, but is evidence of my sincerity. And I know as a spiritual teacher, as a human being, and Darren's laughing.
Yep.
What's up, dog? Hello, Kim and Allison and everybody. I love being vulnerable. I'm passionate. I'm sincere. I'm humble. And I'm vulnerable. And I promise you, if anyone practices this level of spirituality, the universe will be literally at your command.
How was your experience in India?
Passionate, sincere, humble, and vulnerable.
Yes.
To see a man, an androgynous being, because it's God, walk out that little west gate in Kuwant Hall and materialize objects out of thin air. That's all the bangs, bells and whistles, and the flash and fluff and stuff. I get all that. But trust me, when you're on the spiritual path and someone materializes themselves right in front of you, it will get your attention. Right. But the greatest miracle of being in Prasanthi Nilayam on Sathya Sai Baba's ashram was the unity of human beings. Every religion, every profession, showing the utmost respect. You can walk. There's a word that is used. It's called Sairam. Sai means mother, Ram means God. So it's a way of saying the mother aspect of God, the love, the nurturing, the caring, the caressing, and all the beauty, compassion stuff. But Sai Ram has many different meanings. It means you need to pass, and the space is a little tight. You say Saddam, it means excuse me. Or you say Saddam, hello. Or Saddam, hope to talk with you soon. It has all these beautiful meanings of whatever you intend in the moment that you need to utter for the situation. Mm-hmm. It's the level of unity. There were Hindus, Buddhists, Christians, Muslims. Oh my God, every faith, clerks, grocery store attendants, police officers, every walk of life with the same level of just, I'm here to learn how to be in love with humanity. And you can feel it. And when you have 35 plus thousand people there, 250,000 on a festival day.
Oh, wow.
You can feel it. You can cut it with a knife. It permeates your entire being that like cheesecake, after being there too long, it gets too rich.
Right.
3 bites of cheesecake.
Yeah, it's enough.
Cut me a small wedge, and they give you a piece the size of a pizza.
Yeah.
Slice. But it was beautiful. It was... it taught me that I went there to see God, only to come home to find myself.
Very cool.
Mm.
Now, okay, so I don't know where I read this. I'm pretty sure I've seen this somewhere, but now are they saying that Sai Baba is supposed to be reincarnated
That is absolutely true.
Between 2023 and 2025, somewhere in
Actually, that is true, but the supposed, according to the prophecy in the scripture of Sai Baba's life, he passed in 2011, coincidentally, Easter morning.
Wow. Yeah.
Right? 2011, and the prophecy is he was going to come back 8 years later. So I don't know if the 8 years later means from 2011, which would make it 2019 or 8 years later, meaning the end of that year's cyclical process, meaning 8 years from hence to 2020. So if that is the case, so right now he would be 2 or 3 or 4, whatever years old.
Okay, gotcha.
And that represents the first incarnation of Baba, Shirdi Baba, was the bringing to the end of secular integration between the Muslims and the Hindus. Sai Baba in that time wore the garb of Hindus and the garb of Muslims and the ash of Hindus to imply I am the bridge between these two faiths. The second incarnation of Baba, which is the one I went to see, Satya means truth, Sai means mother, Baba means father, like Abba in the Bible, was to bring together that God lives in everyone. And the return of Prema Sai, Prema means love, Sai again means mother, is for everyone to realize, become self-integrated, self-induced. Not only does that God live in everyone, but everyone is God in and of themselves as the whole versus the fragment. This is the final teaching. Girl, you done your schooling. School's out forever.
Yeah, it is for me. I ain't going back to damn school. Hell no. Couldn't pay me enough to go back to school.
Right.
So, not only did you have that experience with India and stuff, but you've also have experiences with avatars, correct?
Yes.
Do you want to kind of explain that to our listeners who may not know what that is?
My whole life design, and I'm unfolding to that, is learning that I intentionally came here. We all intend to come here, but since this is you and I's conversation, you're asking me, I came here with an intention to, as I said earlier, to be of service. After my experience with Satya Sai Baba from India, I dedicated my apartment, amazingly designed as a shrine. And you walk into my house and people would, I'd come home from a gig, we all be drunk and stuff, right?
Yeah.
And lit like Cooter Brown. I just got finished playing with world-class players, people that play with, Hank Williams Jr., Survivor. Yes, I'm dropping names, but it makes the point.
Right, yeah.
So we're all going to my house, in my apartment, and it's built like a shrine. And I had this up for many, many years, and I put it down and thinking that, this is all over. So when I went to India to see Satya Sai Baba for 2 weeks and having the most amazing things happen in front of my face, in 2 weeks that thousands of people collectively will never experience in a lifetime.
Right.
I logged all of this into a tape recorder. And so it took me 14 years to write this book, not because because I only did it when I wanted to.
Right.
For the love of God, a spiritual journey about my sojourn to India. So here's the magic that includes more Indian avatars physically to show up in my life. I write this book after 14 God knows what blessed goddamned years. So I'm doing the final edit after 3 or 4 edits.
Yeah.
And I did the final grammatical correction, leave a comma, not leave the comma, save the document, and I stood off of my chair. And I went, Om Sai Om, thank you for a beautiful journey of 14 years. My phone rings as I'm getting off of my chair to go to the bathroom. Hello? Hey, Keith, what are you doing? Fantastic. How about yourself? Keith, this is Mona. Mona Winfrey? Yeah. What's up, girl? How you doing? All this dialogue, right?
Yeah.
So we chit-chat for a second. Keith, listen. I got this God-realized man from India that came found you astrally, and he wants you to interview him on your radio show. I said, Mona. She goes, Keith, it's real. So I began this whole research, and very long story short, so we can get to the point of where I really would love to go. Do you want to interview him? I said, Mona, that is a very stupid question. Of course I do. So we did the interview. The interview was yet to happen. Well, he's in town. So I would go to a Unity Church, a non-denominational Christian facility. For Swamiji, Bhagawan Sri Viswayogi Viswayogi Viswamji Maharaj, the ninth incarnation of God, the first God-realized soul to step on the earth. Long story short, just trying to give you some powerful background. So if you can imagine how long a small church is with aisles on one, pews on one side and pews on the other side, and this sort of grandiose aisle in the middle, and there's a stage, and I'm standing on the side of the stage at the very first row. So this divine man who knows everything walks up the aisle and takes a left to get on the stage or the podium right in front of me. Anjana, the lady who helped introduce me to this avatar, and then me. And this man turns to the aisle, turns to the left where I'm at, about to go up to the podium. He goes, "I've been waiting on you." And so this kept, when I was in this darshan, blessing of a holy man, Anjana says, "Keith, he keeps staring at you." And he was staring at me. He wants you to become a disciple. So this started a long, quite a few year relationship, intimate, sensual relationship with this avatar of God. And now he's in my life and he controls my life.
Wow.
And I say that because he's consuming me in his will.
Gotcha. Okay. And now, didn't at one time say that there was 9 different ones, but maybe they're the same person, but they have different personalities?
It's the same being.
Yes,
Jesus,
yes,
Baba,
yeah,
Buddha,
yeah.
Krishna, Baba, Swamiji, Anandamayi Ma, Paramahansa Yogananda, so all these beings. It's the same thing. For example, if God has anything that represents wholeness, let's use the hand as an analogy. The hand is a whole hand. But what extends from these hands are individual fingers. You know, they're all fingers, but the pinky doesn't do what the thumb does, and
Right.
and vice versa.
Right.
But it's the same hand, the same divine energy that plays itself out. So why, if this is true, why not just have one being? Because they all have different roles. But why not have one being? Then there would be no reason for you and me and the we of it all. So we all have roles.
Right.
So it's the same thing. It's all the same current that moves through the lampshade, through the stereo system, even at your neighbor's house or your cousin's house across town. It's all the same divine current.
Very cool. Now, with all this, you do have your own Center of Light. Is it Center of Light Foundation?
Center of Light Foundation came out of Center of Light Radio, and it's all the same entity, but I've turned Center of Light Foundation into an LLC, and my mission is that of the Supreme Will, which is to empower one of a slogan of mine is, without food, you cannot live. Without shelter, there is no comfort. Without proper education, there is no point. Without purpose, one can never be born. This is the mantra, the spine, the backbone of Center of Light Foundation, is to help the, quote, needy in food, give them shelter, but also begin to educate them and find out what it is they love to do. Well, what skills do you have? I love painting. You see that wall over there? That wall is flaking. It needs a good paint job. In fact, while you're over there, paint a mural on it. Do your thing. And give them the education and empowerment they need. And then, quote, release them back into society to begin to affect and infect the masses with becoming a solid foundation. A Center of Light Foundation human being.
Okay. Now, on your radio show, is this kind of, do you just talk about spirituality? Do you have guests on there? I know at sometimes earlier on you did have some guests, but I don't know if you've really had any. Is it just kind of, you do like your Facebook streaming and just kind of whatever flows through? And
Sure. That is my greatest love for now, because I know what is coming, and it's not coming. It's basically on the cusp of here. I love being with people. I love expressing myself as a musician, being an artist and a singer and an author and a teacher. And all these titles, I'm all about the throat chakra for many years, but now I'm moving into the eye because my kundalini is awakening. If you see me moving around, it's because my back gets somewhat uncomfortable. It's not a pain, but it's a very dull, you just have to move to somewhat alleviate it. I love doing radio interviews, but it's been quite a while. So I'm minimizing my wanting to do those for now because there's a little more involved. So if something comes to me when I wake up in the morning, maybe a prompting of spirit, or even something that I feel that my brother and sisters on the Facebook stream have been talking about depression a lot lately, then
Oh.
I'll address the depression. But in the very near future, I'm probably gonna always express myself as a vocal person this way. And I love the idea of interview. In fact, one of my hopes, dreams, beautiful potential possibilities is creating a terrestrial radio station. Hence
Oh.
my growing of Center of Light Foundation TV network.
Yes.
I'm on Roku now,
Yes,
so
yeah.
you can find it on Roku. Go to your search channels, Center of Light Foundation, or I think the other way in is at Center of Light, all one word. So I have a big future coming, and it's to boisterously, boldly say, I'm here. How can I be of service?
Right. Yeah. That's awesome.
Yeah.
That's really awesome. I'll have to check it out on Roku because I do have Roku. So
Oh, cool.
yeah,
Yeah.
that'd be cool. Another thing, I know you've had interactions with extraterrestrials and things like that. There's been a lot of things though in the news lately. What do you think about those balloons? What is your thoughts?
I don't do politics. No, I'll tell you.
I don't do politics. I don't either, but I just want to hear about that.
Do you use explicits on your show?
Yes, it
I think
is.
it's absolute horseshit.
Yeah, yeah.
But beyond the horseshit, it's real. It's happening. So it's not horseshit. It's a valuable tool that says, how aware are we, of what is transpiring, illusory or reality? It is a reality because it's happening. It's our spin that we put on this. So let's look at this honestly and evaluate it. Okay, there's balloons in the sky. As children, we're divine children. We all love balloons at parties. Yay, there's a nice balloon. And we blow up balloons. But while we're blowing up balloons, there are others who are not only lying to you, they're deceiving you, which is greater than lying. They're blowing hot air up your ass.
Mm-hmm.
And that balloon begins to swell. I don't know if it's spy balloons. It could be. I don't know if it's EMP pulse generators. Could be. Probably both. And probably things we can't even begin to imagine. It could be our bioweapon release. I don't know, and I really don't care.
Right, yeah.
What I care about is how this can affect you, me, and the we of it all. Because I love, and still do, conspiracy theory. But I'm starting to get a handle on it and myself by creating a discipline. You know, I like good movies, but I don't get so lost in movies the rest of my life. I'm always in a movie house. I like a good viewing of something, and I evaluate it and process it. I think it's a curveball. I think it's an attention getter. Hey, look over here so we can go create a football stadium so you can, in Roman times or NFL today, so we can go do something behind your back. I know the narrative. We all know the conspiracy narrative.
Yeah.
It's not good. It's just a sign that points the way to trouble, that if we see it as a sign of a blessing, that we can change the prophecy of what it ever has intended to manipulate us and deceive us to be.
Do you think, now, going back to your interactions with extraterrestrials, you have been on their ships, but it wasn't actually like you're physically stepping on there, but it felt like you were actually on there. Am I getting that kind of?
They're all true. They're definitely all true. And if you don't mind, I would like to just recap, go back to close off this point about when you talked about balloons and stuff, and now that we're leading into the alien experience, let's say extraterrestrial experience. I'll define that in a moment. The beings that are doing the stuff that you just talked about are the aliens. Those are the aliens. Well, I'm not saying that everyone who has a human, skin suit, that they're trying to disguise or cloak their extra lizard alienness. That's not what I'm implying at all. Some of them possibly are, probably are, many of them. But many of them are just simply influenced. They don't even know they're being influenced. So what creates the influence? Hopeless, angry thoughts. creates you to become just a receiver of said level of consciousness. And so you believe certain things in a certain way, and you act accordingly, and you're under the governing influence of the master puppet hand, and you don't even know it. Basically, you're a sheeple, to use a word. But the beings that I have had the blessed, still do, not as much so much lately, which is I'm in a transition process, and I understand why.
Mm-hmm.
I call them extraterrestrials. So what is the difference? For me, aliens are beings like, aliens that don't belong on your land. You don't belong here. Get off my country, out of my country, kind of thing. So extraterrestrials means that they're extra. We're terrestrials, but there's something extra, meaning higher up. Mm-hmm. So how do we treat aliens? We say, go away, you don't belong here. And if Earth was created with the divine intention, which I have absolutely no doubt, of being a space for humanity in its glory into the divine, back into the divine, then you come in here with your bullshit and your nonsense is alien to the intention of the manifestation and the creation of this glorious planet. You don't belong here. That's the difference for me. So at the age of 33, these higher level of extraterrestrials begin to appear again. And when I move into these ships, there's really no rhyme or reason about these craft. I don't even know if I'm on a craft. I could be in their living room. Because in the craft, the ones that I know that I was in a craft, there was always these quarters, if you will, that felt very living room-like, where the collective of said mothership or said mother apartment complex simply hang out. But I do remember many experiences of looking out the window, if you will, and them giving me instruction, where are we in the galaxy? And they would say certain things. Yeah.
Let's see there.
And oddly, one of the biggest questions I'm asked is, and I get it, the puppy dog tail is wagging, and they can't wait to know the answer, is, what do they look like?
Oh, yeah, I know a lot of...
And, of course, you get the almond-shaped black eyes and the triangle head, and I understand that, and some not really, because these imply the aliens, because the little grays and all that. Many of these beings look like you and me. Many of them look like you and me and better looking. Some of them not so well at 3 o'clock in the morning. You got your alcohol, your tequila glasses on, right?
Yeah.
But when I get aboard these ships, immediately the vibration gets a little... Once I'm there, when I stabilize, that is the most perfect word I can use to describe it. When I stabilize my consciousness, oh wow, something is going down. Then I take a breath and I step back to collect myself. And I see beings everywhere. And I see what they look like, but I don't really have an importance to what you look like, even though I see you. I just know that I am about to shift to another reality from this level that I'm already on. And when I shift to that reality, physical appearance completely disappears. Though I still see this individualness of every being, see, even though I'm on a space of not being able to see them. What I mean by being able to see them is because seeing on this level has nothing to do with the eyes or taking them in, or even on this level what you think your eyes. When I shift to this level, it's a vibration of individuality and unity. So for example, if I'm sitting here talking with you like we are now, and you and I both shift to this level, I hear you, but I also hear the murmuring in the room. For example, even if you and I were physical, we're in a restaurant having a bite of food. Yeah. We hear the murmuring around us and the chitter chatter. The same thing happens. But like in the physical way, in that restaurant that you are, if someone next to us or a few booths over says something very delicious, we eavesdrop by going, huh? Yeah. We squint, we lean into what they're saying. Well, the same thing. When I'm in this high level board these craft, extraterrestrial living room, however you want to term it, it's like I hear the collective, but the same thing applies. If I want to experience something across the room, I just lean into it. And that leaning is not really leaning your body. It's an intention to open up the facility of actually hearing.
Gotcha. Now, Darren was asking if you were astral projecting. I think we kind of touched on that last time, but...
Yeah, for sure it's astral projecting. Some of this stuff When it's the lower stuff, it's still astral projecting, but of course, as you probably know, Darren and everyone, it's in the denser stuff. The lower astral is what is referred to as hell. There's no hell. It's just lower astral illusion. And then you have the astral, the middle grade astral, which is I'm a free will entity. I ran into a bad situation, but I'm conscious enough of myself where I'm just going to change the vibration and lift and go to a moon on Jupiter where people are living in an absolute harmony and all this stuff. And then when the astral begins to cross into the causal, this is where you can get some of these extraterrestrials who don't need craft. Mostly extraterrestrials do not need craft. These are multidimensional beings. It's the aliens that need craft because they're so dense with their attitude and their energy as a being that they need such dense energy as the hardware craft. The higher level extraterrestrials are multidimensional and they can travel cosmically in a matter of a moment, but some of them do use conveyances to reach certain lower dimensionals that require such density for their presence and or appearance to be known. But also what I did want to share with you, because I think I knew where you were going, which is when I get aboard these craft, if there is such a thing, and maybe my mind is painting a craft because my mind needs one to understand what's happening, is they're larger inside the craft than they are on the outside. And this is also true with divine avatars, God-realized beings. There's these little cabins that live in the universe that are cloaked, that you can't see them. They're so high vibration you can pass right through them unless they want you to see them, which is when you walk inside of them, it's a lot larger on the inside than it is on the outside.
Awesome. I want to do that.
And it's all doable. It's all here. And, what I've been doing lately with Swamiji, this divine man, oh my gosh. When you're physically around such a being,
Yeah.
I don't want to sully and or soil such an experience with mere words, but I'll do my best. It's delicious on every possible level. You feel this cascading fountain of unconditional love, non-judgmental, universal power that knows everything you're thinking, and you cannot escape the fact that she knows what you're thinking. And in that comes the humility of literally and metaphorically, oh my God. And in that space, the wormhole to forever opens up. And what I would love to share with everyone is what's happening to me. It does not make me special. It makes me sincere. So I may become very emotional.
Okay.
What has been happening to me since this most recent time in my time with Swamiji? If you want to find me, you can find me on Keith A. Blanchard Keith Anthony Blanchard on Facebook, Center of Light Foundation, Keith Anthony Blanchard at gmail.com. You can find me. I'll put it in this dialogue. About Swamiji and who he is? He is the it. There is no other it. He looks like him because he doesn't look like Jesus or Buddha. None of them look the same, but it's all the same. He has come into my life and began to consume me. I've been a musician all of my life. I loved it. Even when I didn't love it, I loved it. Versus pushing a paintbrush or swinging a hammer. And one day, he gave me a personal interview, a concert upstairs, an audience. He says, yes. I said, Swamiji, yes. He says, what do you need, Keith? I said, I don't want to play music anymore. He goes, okay, then don't. I said, what about money? He says, don't worry about money. He said, it's coming. This was 5 whatever years ago. And so as my want to slowly get out quickly as possible, the music field, Keith, don't worry about money. Long story short, he says, I'm going to take care of all of it for you. So I begin this letting go practice of mine. And I begin to say this very divine sacred name. There is no mantra greater than saying this. Om Sri Saram Guru Deva Datta. Om Sri, I'm going to say it a little more American for Lowe's. Om Sri Sai Ram Guru Deva Datta. But it's Om Sri Sai Ram Guru Deva Datta. This is the supreme call, the call of the Supreme Lord of the universe. When you begin to tickle the hairs on these divine beings' name, they have no other choice but to scratch. So I go, excuse me, into my bed every day for nap time because I'm almost 60 years old. And I put my covers over my head and I Om Sri Sai Ram Guru Deva Datta, Om Sri Sai Ram Guru Deva Datta, Om Sri Sai Ram Guru Deva Datta. You can use your voice or you can say it to yourself. After using your voice for a while, you will get tired. You'll say it to yourself. But you get in there and you become a lover of God. God becomes your, and I say this deliberately, your sexual partner. Because your synergistic energy exchange is all you want. You're willing to die to find yourself.
Mm-hmm.
Nothing else is required. When you find yourself, literally, in that space, do this long enough, every day, toilet, shower, driving in your car, Om Sri Sai Ram Guru Deva Datta. And you mean it. It's not just about reciting words. You get in there and find the butter and the syrup on the pancake.
Mm-hmm.
When you do this long enough, you will know that 4 seconds before you reach your bed to lay your heart down, it's already started. Like a habit after 21 days. You get to sit back on autopilot.
Mm-hmm.
Your lower back will begin to undulate. Your kundalini will begin to rise. I've learned that when you add, via Swamiji's time, my time with Swamiji, Tesla's numbers 369,
mm-hmm.
and you command the elements of the universe. This is all my learning from Swamiji. He didn't say, Keith, this is how you do it. Mm-hmm. This is my putting together of it. Mm-hmm. And I'm in doing this. So what I want to offer anyone listening, find your favorite prayer. I do suggest Om Sri Sai Ram Guru Deva Datta. Om Sri Sai Ram Guru Deva Datta. I will send you that information because it actually pinpoints the exact vibrational frequency of the Supreme Lord of the universe that you are calling to yourself. And when you make God the slave, when God becomes encapsulated in your heart, that's one thing. But when you are captain in the chamber of his, the game is over. When you go into this cave of what's called samadhi and begin this dialogue, this sensual experience with your maker, Om Sri Sai Ram Guru Deva Datta, and your lower back begins to undulate, then you begin to do things in sequence. I call the elements of the universe, earth, water, fire, air, space, and through me manifests God's infinite wealth in avalanches of abundance here and now. I lovingly command this to be so. Om Sri Sai Ram Guru Deva Datta, Om Sri Sai Ram Guru Deva Datta, Om Sri Sai Ram Guru Deva Datta. 3. I do the whole thing again. Om Sri Sai Ram Guru Deva Datta. 6. Same thing again. 9. And you will see and feel, if you know what the torus is, this image where everything turns within itself constantly, you will begin to feel your human aura move from the base of your spine, hopefully to the top of your head, to the crown chakra. And this is where all knowing begins. I'm beginning to know things and they're validating themselves. I don't do this for money. I don't do this for money. Long story short, if you want, or if you're sincere, passionate, humble, and vulnerable, this is probably the final key you will ever need to stick into the door to meet your maker.
Wow. Very cool. That's pretty powerful.
Yeah. And what you will discover in there is a bunch of beautiful stuff and a bunch of noise. And when you realize the half of you that is beautiful and the half of you that is noise, then you ascend like the phoenix to nothing. It's nothing. There's nothing. What is God? God is nothing. And in that nothing is everything. Mm-hmm. I'm learning, I'm integrating, I'm falling out of my own noise. Nothing is nothing, and nothing means anything at all.
That's a lot to think about.
It hurts. And actually, I think the thinking is what makes it hurt.
Oh,
It's sort of, how do you swallow a big piece of cracker?
right. Unless you choke on it.
Right. And sometimes choking is required, hence all those years, at least in my life and many of our lives, we've come to spaces in our lives when we took too many crackers too quick, and we got thirsty. We wanted something else. We're choking on freaking saltines. Life gets salty real quick.
Yeah. Excuse me.
God bless you.
Thank you. All
Well,
right.
you already are.
Thank you. Darren did have a question in
Hi, Darren.
chat. He wants to know if you think there are 3 levels of heaven.
I do understand that. I'm sure there are many levels of heaven. But yeah. Me going eat pizza with Darren Buss on a Friday night, and he's buying and buying the beer.
Hell yeah.
That's one level of heaven. I'm having a level of heaven with. So yes, but I'm being funny. But I understand what he's saying. I understand the levels of heaven. I don't know the levels meaning in from lower to higher, or in width, or in depth. And I don't know them by their names. But I do know the implication of the question he's asking. Well, of course, there are always levels to life. And anyway, and in that regard, and Darren, please feel free to elaborate. I would love to know more about the question you're asking, my friend. Heaven, it can represent itself in a supernatural way. But when we bring the supernatural by default in automatic pilot into our life, then it simply becomes our dominant tone. Heaven is your life going right on any level, whoever you are. Hell is your life going wrong on any level, no matter who you are. So I guess even in the human meat suit, it depends on what astral plane that we are extracting the nectar of our beliefs, thoughts, possibilities, probabilities, improbabilities, impossibilities. But I'd love to know more, Darren. Thank you, Bravo.
Yeah, all he said was he was told by someone else. So he was just asking, I guess, what you thought. I don't know. And by the way, while you were talking about, not to interrupt you, but while you were talking about saltines and crackers, Darren said he's eating Triscuits right now. So don't choke, Darren.
What is the Triscuit? Isn't that the chicken cracker?
They're just those little,
Oh, yeah.
Kind of a weedy, they almost remind you of that cereal, that shredded wheat.
Yes,
cereal,
that's the commercial that Gordon Ramsay takes a bite, and he looks like, you can tell he only got paid to do this commercial.
Yeah, right. Yeah, exactly.
So Darren, now that you said that you was told by someone, if you want to follow a lead, my friend, heaven is the choice that you make. Any one of us, including myself, I need to hear this. Heaven is the consistent choice made conscious. Hell is the opposite. The door that leads us to hell is the same door to heaven, like the Ouija board. It's just a doorway. It's infinite power. And if you walk, you can walk up to a big dog and go, and to you, that big dog is a doorway to friendship, loyalty, and I like dogs.
Right.
Someone who walks up to a big dog who when they were a child got mauled and stitches, that doorway called a dog is not, come over here, boy. It's like, Dad?
Yeah, right.
So, but likewise, in this strange analogy, when we begin to manipulate, play, wield with different levels of power, different levels of God, you will get what you ask for. Our life is an ongoing prayer, open-eyed or not, closed-eyed or not. Our very being is praying. We are praying just by being ourselves. And so, when we are afraid, if God is everything omnipresent, which means everything, this chair, you and me, everything. If God is everything, the aspects in our life that we are afraid of, it makes sense to me. God simply is not being recognized. God is the evidence of the presence of joy. So in the presence of anything in our life that does not bring us joy, it's teaching us that this is not about karmic retribution and the negative aspect of karma, and unless you choose to see it that way. But when you begin to take that self-responsibility, we begin to see the diamond in the peanut butter jar, and that misery magically turns to grace. That's it. There's no other lesson to be learned to go back home to God, which is not a future event. It's right here, right now, about simply choosing consciously that which brings you joy. It's not hard. I thought it was hard. We all think it's hard. I need to go through the Himalayan cave for 20 years. Well, if you like the Himalayas, go enjoy your stay. You can do it under your covers.
Yeah. Okay, we have time for one more question
Sure,
before we
sure.
start wrapping things up. Darren had another question. He wants to know, do you think everything with the earth actions are connected to the Old Testament?
I'm multitasking. Forgive me. My focus should be here, but
That's okay.
Darren happens to be so sexy. I just found him on Facebook. Ask me your question again, dear.
He wants to know, do you think everything with the earth actions are connected to the Old Testament?
Yes or no?
Yeah.
Yeah. Absolutely. It is, because it is. The book does exist. So now what do we do with this book that it exists? Is it absolutely true? If you want it to be. If you want it to be a way shower for you, like that dog, come over here, or dad, it will be exactly what you want it to be. Again, because God is everything. God is always mirroring to us ourselves. But in the way he's asking, yes, my friend, it is taking place. And it's not designed, as I said before, it's not designed to tell you this is going to happen. This is designed to show all of us this is what can happen from said prophet's vantage point, who had a window open that saw a glimpse into a possible future. So basically, instead of, oh my God, it's coming, the bad thing is coming, we can say, wow, thank you, God, for the grace, that diamond in the peanut butter jar. So I have the self-empowerment to see this forthcoming, that we can change it. So in a prophetic way, what's coming through that open door, instead of the bad and the good, which is both, I'd rather use the word all of it.
Mm-hmm. Right.
And so what is coming through that door is going to have a lot of ass under it.
Mm-hmm.
It's going to kick your ass,
Mm-hmm.
because it's supposed to. If we don't get out of normal in the box, we can never get into expansion mode. Mm-hmm. But you can ride the wave of the pop in the pants, so to speak. And that sounds like a punishment, but it's not. A kick in the pants can also be a boost. So be ready. How do you do that? Fall, let go. Don't predetermine. Don't judge what you think is happening, because nothing is ever what we think is happening. Mm-hmm. Because when we no longer think we know what is happening is where the joy is. We have no idea what's coming.
Right, yeah.
It's supposed to be that way. Did we expect the day before balloons show up, that balloons would show up?
No. Hell no.
And it's supposed to come in ways that we can never imagine.
Mm-hmm.
If not, it's the same old rabbit trick. Mm-hmm. And it keeps us in expansion mode. That's why truth is so elusive. Mm-hmm. It's for those who want it. Mm-hmm. It's not the Bible. Right. It's not the Quran. It's not this. These are just, someone patting you in the back and say, I think the store's over there. Yeah. And you might get some good nutrition from the store, but you didn't explain that you wanted organic.
Yeah.
And these are all metaphors, but they make such profound points. It's like, it's just easy. So what's coming is not going to be easy. That's not a bad affirmation. It's not going to be easy in the form of, have you learned the beautiful art of letting go? What's the worst that can happen? You can die? Well, you're going to die anyway, so get over it.
Right, yeah, exactly.
And your greatest ploy is to accept that mortality, and it'll put you in a nice alignment of strength.
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm. Darren says zombie life will be interesting.
Without judgment, here's my scapegoat. If we use it under the guise of the definition, Webster's, it's not a judgment, it's just a definition. There are lots of sheep. Lots of people are asleep. Lovingly, they're asleep. Many people before me, when that girl broke up with me all those years ago, oh my God, she broke up with me. And people going, well, Keith, you're a beautiful soul, but you're just asleep. Yeah. Likewise, they're asleep. And maybe it's just not their time. Maybe before it was our time, we were the incarnation of them. Mm-hmm. And whoever was looking at us, Jill, Jane, or John Doe, mm-hmm. They're just asleep. It's just where they are. They're here to experience. We're here to experience, and all is well. Time will tell.
Yep, that's right. Exactly. Yeah, we just don't know what the hell is going to happen.
And I love it that way. If
Yeah.
if you always know you're going to win in a game of billiards,
Yeah.
why would you want to play? It's boring. Like the Twilight Zone episode.
Yeah.
This guy didn't know he died, and he went to this place he thought was heaven, and he had all these voluptuous women, and he had all the money, smoking the greatest cigars, and he's playing pool, and every time he would crack the first thing, all the balls would go in, and he got tired of that, and he called the agent of his quarters by the name of Pip, and he said, "Pip, I hate it here. I want to go to the other place." He says, "You are in the other place." Right? Yeah. Likewise, it's the same door. It's just I don't want anything anymore. I have things I want. I want peace, and it comes to me through being of service. I just love people. I eat them up.
And that's a good thing. Sometimes, I enjoy doing the show. It gets me out of my shell, but sometimes there's just times where I'm not a people person.
Yeah. And I enjoy
try to be.
I've done many interviews, but I really, and this is not just, I enjoy you two. You're fun. There's no format. I like format, and I get there's a place for that, but you're just jovial and fun and real. And to me, real is the deal.
It is, absolutely.
We're people.
Yes.
We're brothers and sisters playing in this cosmic garden. And sometimes we fumble and we help each other up. Man.
Yep, that's right. Exactly. All right, so before we start wrapping things up, I was like, wait a minute, it just went silent. Before we start wrapping things up, I just want to give a shout out to everybody who's listening tonight. And then also we had Darren in chat, we had myself, we had Keith, we had Kim. So thanks to everybody in chat, thanks to everybody not in chat but listening. We appreciate each and every one of you. Some of you are kind of shy and you just like to kind of listen in the background, and that's completely fine. We appreciate you. But also, if you guys haven't read it already, I read this book, Homecoming: Crossing the Bridge to the Soul, by yours truly, Keith Anthony Blanchard. And you can get that on Amazon. Is there anywhere else you could buy it? I'm sure you could probably buy it other bookstores.
Yeah, I would like to say hello to Allison and Kim, and I want to say everybody's names. I'm a people person. I want to say your names. We said Darren, Kim, Allison. There was somebody else. I want to say it. Dear Lord. My apologies. You can buy the book on Amazon. Look up Homecoming: Crossing the Bridge to the Soul. Keith Anthony Blanchard. You can go to centeroflightfoundation.org. There's a books tab. You can find me on Facebook, YouTube at youtube.com/Center of Light Radio. Find me. Everyone that I mentioned your names, and the one or two that I didn't, my apologies. You're included. Please include me in your life. I love people. I want to know what your life is about. I want to know what it's like to be you and how I can support you, and not what you do, but who you are.
Perfect. Yeah, and then make sure to, if you have Roku, check out your station on Roku, Center of Light, right?
There's about 70 videos up and running. Center of Light Foundation on Roku. Do a channel search; it should be there.
Okay, perfect. So yes, make sure you check that out as well. It's always a pleasure to talk to you. You've got so much information and knowledge, and you've done so much that
it hurts.
Fascinating. Yeah, I'm sure it does.
I feel full.
It's fascinating to listen to. So, Darren says he's a paranormal investigator, so that's what.
I'll dig it.
We all are, Darren. We are too. So.
Yeah. Well, everybody's paranormal. Yeah. Even me, even you. We're paranormal investigating, because it's not what we all do, and our affinity for things is not normal.
Right. Yeah, that's true.
Thank you, girls. You are beautiful and lovely and absolutely fun. Om Sri Saram Guru Deva Datta. My life is yours. Thank you.
Yes.